Welcome back. Among the most defining features of the U.S. midterm elections was that hyped-up possibility of a red tide in favor of the Republicans, and that glacial pace of vote counting. The fervor around the red tide slowed to a ripple, while several Republican leaders blamed former President Donald Trump for the party's underwhelming performance, which was as immediate as it was surprising. Joining us now to look at what the outcome for both Republicans may mean towards, in fact, the U.S. presidential elections in 2024. And joining us is international relations expert Gideon Chitanga. Now, Gideon, thank you for making time for us this afternoon. So the interim results show that Republicans are expected to probably win a narrow majority in the House of Representatives, but the control of the Senate looks like it's still up in the air. How are you reading the results so far?
I think that like you said, the control of the Senate is up in the air, but there's a big chance that the Democrats will retain the control of the Senate and surely lose the control of the lower house. It is a very important outcome for Joe Biden for two reasons. That the first one being that obviously the control of the two houses has implications to achieving legislative goals, and Biden has done so much up to this point and remarkably achieved some of his legislative goals. But it's clearly going to be a little bit difficult after these elections. Losing the lower house means that the Republicans could do as much as they can to either slow down or impede the Democratic agenda. Retaining the Senate, as Biden has said, is quite significant for the Democrats, raises a lot of optimism. I think for Biden specifically, because he's thinking of his second term and whether he could claim this to be a victory for his agenda and his approach to navigating, sailing the U.S. Political ship through mitigating and overcoming deep polarization that characterizes the American political system by achieving some of the goals that he set up to achieve. But the more crucial issue in these elections is really the deep polarization in the American society and in the political system between the Democrats and the Republicans, and intra-party polarization, such a radical shift towards the right within the Republican Party. There are lots of suggestions that the depth of partisan polarization significantly indicates the potential collapse of the democratic political system, if you like, of the two-party system in the U.S. and endangers the American society, is showing signs of potential instability, with some analysts even arguing that if the U.S. fails to bridge this partisan polarization, there are risks of a domestic civil conflict or civil war.
Yeah, but what seems to be for sure when you look at the results is that we didn't really see the red wave, right? That was predicted by the Republican Party and many other pundits.
Yes, the red wave did not emerge. I also think that with the size of the U.S., although a lot of young people, the Z generation, came out to vote and vote Democrat, obviously over issues like abortion rights, some claiming that they also wanted the legalization of marijuana and so on. What is lacking is a national consensus, a convergence of all parties on what would constitute a national agenda that has characterized claims of U.S. democracy as a united country. And I think this is the most dangerous aspect. The failure to see a red wave indicates some optimism in Biden's approach, particularly his inclination to reach out across partisanship. But as you could read, there is a certain level of division that even with Biden's efforts, the efforts do not reflect a broader national consensus, and what is winning or what is emerging as a bigger picture in the outcomes of the elections is really the division, the partisan polarization, a shift towards what you called the red wave, which simply implies the association of republicanism, particularly Trumpism, with a critical social base within the Republican Party. And this is what is endangering, I think, American democracy at the moment.
Yeah. What do these results tell us about Donald Trump and his popularity? Because some of the candidates that he endorsed didn't do so very well.
Yes, some of the candidates didn't do very well, but I would argue that Trump and the ideas, the dangerous ideas that he represents, are quite popular. And there is quite a huge social base who associates and identifies with him within the Republican social base and within the Republican elite. So the only way of going beyond this kind of politics is to start to focus on some bipartisan convergence at the level of the elites and also at the level of the political social base. Unfortunately, that is not happening. I think Trump still commands a lot of support and respect within the Republican Party. We wait to see what will happen in electing key leaders within the Republican Party after these elections, within government and within the party itself, whether that trend will continue to identify with Trump or whether it will characterize a total shift beyond Trumpism as a political thought or ideology to a more in the middle side that will seek more such national convergence other than polarized national agenda that is more exclusionary and potentially conflictual.
Yeah. What do the results tell us then about Joe Biden? I think you've explained quite well, how even the Republicans can frustrate his programs if they get that narrow win and take control over the Senate. But I'm asking in the context of the 2024 elections, and is he likely to run for another term? Does he even have it?
Clearly, there is an intention for him, I think, and his close associates to continue. I'm just concerned with, the edge, the geriatric shift towards very old politicians. Surely, Joe Biden is quite old, but he also comes with a lot of experience, cross-partisan networks and relationships that up to this moment, I think he has been the main driver behind the successes that he has achieved. But if you think of the importance of the U.S. and its role in global affairs, you would be thinking that you need some energetic younger politicians. You need people who are capable of imagining an alternative future that is more unifying and probably would take a different thrust towards emerging geopolitical trends other than the more customary kind of satisfying the old networks. So clearly he is keen to take on a second term, but I think that would be problematic, and hopefully new leaders can continue to emerge and new ideas which are more interesting and exciting and more optimistic can emerge.
Yeah, but I guess the broader question I was asking Gideon is whether he even has the capacity to take on the second term. I mean, if you've seen videos, some of the press conferences he has, you see that he's really old.
He is quite old, retirement age, if you like. But I guess he has a good support system. He has probably ideas that at the moment are suitable in addressing in a very incremental way and not an extensive and comprehensive way the current political challenges that the U.S. is facing.
Yeah.
But in the long run, I think his age, and eventually we will see health concerns which will probably raise a lot of political uncertainty and which can have serious implications for geopolitical uncertainty, domestic economic uncertainty within the U.S. Already, the American democratic system in itself has a way of unleashing these uncertainties given the short-term kind of approach to elections. And we know that elections, when they happen, they potentially just mud the waters, like we're discussing right now. Yeah. The leadership structures, they change the policies, they change the global outlook. And the world at the moment is facing, I think, the most serious threats our generations have faced ever. So you need a stable, more predictable kind of leadership, which Biden would be able to provide.
And what do you think of Kamala Harris? There are some people who have suggested, well, there's someone that the Democrats can put up as a nominee. I mean, do you think that he can be a strong contender for the Blue Party?
I think for the Blue Party, the role that she's playing as a deputy president is enough. She doesn't strike me as someone who can be a rallying point to unite many Americans beyond the Republican Party, beyond the right-wing critics. If she were to become the face of the Democratic campaign, my fear is that we'd see a lot more dirty politics, ethnic campaigning, threats of violence which have characterized these elections, and that would render a worst-case scenario. My vouch would be a more younger, robust, physically healthier, mentally stimulated and energetic and challenging candidate who is able to confront the side of the Republicans, but also stand agile in the face of emerging international challenges. There is talk of DeSantis on the Republican Party. He's younger, he's in his 40s. So you would think in the age of Biden, you probably need a challenger who is broadly appealing, but is of the right demographic category to offer a more interesting and more confident global outlook beyond the U.S.
Yeah. So counting is now underway. When are we likely to have the final results? And are you expecting any big surprises, or the results as we see them now are largely, what we can be comfortable with to call it, or could things still change?
Yeah. I think that the Democrats will keep the Senate, lose the lower house, and as we have seen, the margins are quite smaller than had been suggested, and I think that the Democrats will be quite happy with the results at the moment. Going forward, I think the issue about Biden's succession will be a major issue, and although some key elites will feel that he is a comfortable bet, I think the more futuristic bet would be who else can be the next president if he representing the Democratic Party.
Yeah. Gideon Chitanga, thank you so much for your analysis this afternoon. International relations expert, just reflecting on those U.S. midterm elections. I'm going to take a quick break.